When Barron Trump walked into a high-extent restaurant, he never expected his MAGA hat to trigger a public confrontation. What happened next shocked the manager and sparked a city-wide conversation. It was a sunny afternoon in Los Angeles, the kind of day that invited you to slow down and enjoy the moment. Barron, now in his late teens, had just finished a quiet morning of reading and decided to treat himself to lunch. He chose El Terrace, a renowned restaurant known for its blend of sophistication and exclusivity. A place frequented by celebrities, CEOs, and influencers. It was a spot he had visited before and enjoyed in its sunny atmosphere and impeccable service. He got directly he saw a car with a nice car chiving in the target city. As Barron walked through the glass doors, he stood out, not just because of his height, but because of the bright red MAGA hat on his head. He wore it casually, not intending to provoke, but simply as a personal expression. He was greeted by the hostess, a polished woman in her 30s, who seated him at a corner table. The restaurant was quiet, with a few diners sipping wine and conversing softly. Barron opened the menu as he sat down, trying to focus on his favorite dish. At first, he didn't notice the looks around him. A man at the next table whispering to his partner. A couple of waitstaff murmuring near the bar. But then, the manager appeared. In his mid-40s, dressed in a sharp suit, he walked briskly to Barron's table, his face set in determination. "Excuse me," the manager said loudly enough to draw attention. "We have a policy against political apparel. I'm going to need you to remove the hat." Barron looked up, surprised but not rattled. He calmly removed his earbuds and placed them on the table. "I wasn't aware of any policy like that," he said. "It's in our code of conduct," the manager insisted, gesturing vaguely toward the entrance. "We want this to be a neutral space for all our guests." Barron considered his options. Glancing around, some diners pretended not to notice, while others openly stared. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," he said, maintaining a neutral tone. "I'm just here for lunch." The manager's voice hardened. "You need to take off the hat, or I'll have to ask you to leave." Barron paused, his expression unreadable. An uncomfortable silence settled over the room as Barron gathered his things. He left his glass of water untouched and walked out without another word. The door closed softly behind him, but the tension lingered inside. Outside, Barron stood still for a moment, letting the warm California breeze touch his face. He adjusted his hat as though reaffirming his decision and took a deep breath. Disappointed, more than frustrated, he reflected on the incident. He had always been taught to show kindness, even in disagreements, and this felt like a betrayal of that principle. Inside the restaurant, a waiter leaned in to whisper to the manager, "Do you think that was a good idea?" The manager waved him off. "We can't make exceptions. If we let him stay, it sends the wrong message. This is my restaurant, and I'll run it as I see fit." Meanwhile, Barron walked a few blocks to a nearby park, found an empty bench, and sat down, pulling out his phone. He began texting his mother and a few close friends, not looking for sympathy, but seeking clarity. Was he overreacting? Was the manager justified? Replies came quickly. One friend wrote, "That's insane. They shouldn't have treated you like that." Another added, "You handled it better than I would have." As Barron read through the messages, an idea began to form in his mind. He wasn't interested in revenge, but in something constructive, a way to turn the negativity into something meaningful. Standing up, determination sparked in his eyes. Barron made calls. His voice calm but purposeful. He began reaching out to people who could help him organize a positive response to this situation. Back at the restaurant, word of the incident had begun to spread on social media. People posted about the confrontation with Barron Trump and the MAGA hat, with some users condemning the restaurant's decision, while others defended it. And the manager, who had initially felt confident in his decision, now found himself questioning it as the situation spiraled. By the time Barron returned home, the story was making waves online, and the fallout was intensifying. Influencers had picked it up, some supporting Barron, while others polarized the incident further. But Barron was focused on a different approach. He wasn't interested in fueling drama or dividing people. He wanted to create a space for unity, dialogue, and understanding. He started planning a public fundraiser, one with a unifying message. The event would support underprivileged communities and promote safe spaces for conversation and understanding. Barron knew that while the incident couldn't be undone, he could shift the focus towards something constructive. He reached out to several organizations to help with the logistics, and within hours, the fundraiser began to take shape. The following morning, the area outside LA Terrace transformed. Trucks unloaded equipment, volunteers set up tables, and a stage was erected. Barron oversaw the arrangements with a banner above the stage that read, "United we stand." Building bridges, not walls. The event wasn't just about raising money, it was about fostering connection. Booths for making charity members lined the Balto state. As the crowd gathered, Barron took the stage, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Yesterday, I was asked to leave this restaurant because of a hat. That's okay. I respect their policies, even if I don't agree with them. But what struck me wasn't just being turned away. It was the bigger picture. We've become too quick to judge each other and shut down conversations. That's not who we are. We can do better." The crowd erupted in applause, and Barron continued, "This event isn't about me. It's not about them. It's about all of us finding ways to listen, to understand, and to come together. The funds we raise today will go toward programs that foster dialogue and inclusion. Thank you for proving that unity is stronger than division." Inside Ale Terrace, the atmosphere was tense. The manager watched from the window, feeling conflicted. As some staff members stepped outside to join the fundraiser. He began to feel the weight of his decision. The restaurant, once bustling with customers, now stood eerily quiet. He couldn't help but watch as the crowd outside grew. Finally, the manager stepped outside, hesitantly making his way toward Barron. The crowd parted, and Barron greeted him with a small, polite smile. He extended his hand. The manager took it. "I like to talk," he said quietly. "Of course," Barron replied, leading him to a quieter spot at the edge of the event. Barron listened intently. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong," he said. "Thank you for saying that." And National Youth was born. National Youth Call, no longer known as NAC. The manager looked at Barron, impressed by his response. "Watching what you've done here today is humbling. You could have retaliated, but instead you created something positive. That's not something most people would do." Barron smiled. "I don't think the world needs more anger or division. I wanted to show there is a better way." The manager nodded. "You did. I'd like to support what you're doing here." "How can I help?" Barron suggested. "Maybe LA Terracet could host an event like this one. Something that brings people together instead of pushing them apart." Before we all escaped, there was one last place to visit. The manager, clearly caught off guard but pleased, smiled. "I think that's a great idea. Let's make it happen." The crowd, sensing the resolution, began to applaud. It wasn't forced or polite. It was heartfelt. Barron had turned a moment of division into one of unity, and the applause reflected that. As the event drew to a close, Barron took the stage one last time to thank everyone for their support. "We all make mistakes," he said. "What matters is how we choose to grow from them. Today wasn't just about raising money. It was about showing that even when we disagree, we can still find common ground. Thank you for proving that unity isn't just possible, it's necessary." The crowd cheered, and as the sun set over Los Angeles, Barron stood with his friends and family, knowing the message of unity had been heard loud and clear. The story serves as a reminder that conflicts, big or small, don't have to end in bitterness.